So here's something I've been noticing. Everyone right now is trying to get more out of AI, and most people are going about it in the exact same way. Better prompts, better tools, the latest model, etc. But there's actually a completely different lever that almost nobody outside of engineering circles is talking about. And that is what Claude is calling skills. And here's the thing. It's not really a new idea. It's actually a concept that senior operators have been using for decades, just under different names. SOPs, playbooks, onboarding docs. And what Anthropic has done is given you a way to hand one of these to Claude and have it actually run the playbook for you on demand every time. And listen, this is a real force multiplier. We're talking about the kind of thing that can take a team of 5 and get them operating like a team of 50. Not because the AI is smarter, but because the work is structured in a way that the AI can actually execute. So today, I want to show you exactly what a skill is, why it matters, and I'll actually walk you through building one using a real example from my inbox. Let's get into it. All right, so here is how we're going to be spending our time in this video. So first, we are going to break down what a skill actually is, because the word gets thrown around a lot, and I feel like most people don't really truly understand what it means. Second, I'm going to talk about the deeper principle behind why skills are so important. This is actually honestly the most important part, because if you just learn the tool without the thinking, you're going to build bad skills. And then finally, we're going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to actually build a skill and demonstrate that skill. Let's get into it. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Sunny and I'm a serial founder now on my 4th startup. I'm also a former senior engineer at Bloomberg and Shopify and currently an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School where I teach technology and AI. Listen, I have been in this industry for more than 15 years, way before AI was even in the picture. I have made all the mistakes so you don't have to. And my goal for today's video, and really all my videos, is to help you make sense of this new landscape we find ourselves in, and to build tools and systems that can really magnify and grow your productivity, both personally and professionally. Let's get into it with our first step. So let's start here. What actually is a skill? Because I think that a lot of people throw the term around and don't really truly understand what it is. A skill, simply put, is a set of persistent instructions that you give to your AI once, and then it uses those instructions every time it invokes the skill. Think of it like hiring a new employee and handing them a really well-written onboarding doc. The doc doesn't just tell them what to do, it shows them what good looks like. And from that point forward, they can do the work without you having to re-explain it every time. And that's basically what a skill is. Think of it like an onboarding doc for your AI. And here's the thing. I'm seeing a lot of people use AI very suboptimally. They'll open Claude or ChatGPT, then type in a one-off prompt, they get a response and they move on. The next day, they do it all again. Same task, fresh prompt, no memory, no system. Every interaction starts from 0. Well, a skill flips that. You write it once, and now every time you need that task done, the AI already knows the context, the tone, the structure, the edge cases. Okay, so before we move ahead in the video and jump into the demo, I think this is actually a good time to go a little deeper and think about the deeper principle behind skills and why it matters so much. Because the skill itself is just a tool. The real unlock is how it forces you to think. Here's my broader take. The single biggest thing that separates a senior operator from everyone else isn't intelligence, it's not experience, it's not even domain expertise. It's actually the ability to look at a repeated task and see it as a system instead of a task. What I mean by that is this. Most people, when they get, for example, a vendor pitch in their inbox, they think, oh, I have to respond to this email. A systems thinker, on the other hand, will look at that same email and think, wait a minute, I get 30 of these a week. What's the pattern? How do I extract that pattern? So it's the same inbox, but a completely different mindset in perceiving that inbox. And that's exactly the mindset that you really need to maximize the value that you extract from AI tools. All right, let's actually get to our demo. But first, here is the example that we are actually going to be building today. So what we're going to be building is a skill that evaluates and responds to vendor pitches. Listen, me personally, I get somewhere between 20 to 40 vendor pitches a week. Things like agencies, software companies, consultants, all trying to get my attention. Most of them aren't a good fit. A few of them are interesting. And for years, I was either ignoring them, which felt rude, or writing a quick reply, which definitely ate up my time. So here's what I want this skill to do. When I invoke it, I want it to look at a vendor pitch and do three things. First, give me a verdict. Is this worth pursuing, or is this an automatic no? Second, explain the reasoning briefly so I can audit it and spot check. And third, draft the appropriate response. A warm, qualifying reply if it's worth pursuing, a polite decline if it's not. That's it. That's all we're going to be building. So here we are inside of Claude. I'm just using Claude.ai's chatbot, and we're actually going to go ahead and create the skill here. We'll call it the Vendor Pitch Triage. Now, here's the thing about building a skill. The whole skill is basically just instructions. That's it. You're writing a short document that tells Claude what to do, how to think about it, and what the output should look like. If you can write a clear onboarding doc for a new hire, you can write a skill. So what I've actually done is I've pre-prepared the skill. What I simply did is I just had a chat session with Claude, described my problem. I presented some examples of good responses and bad responses. And what I got out is a simple markdown file. Here is what we have. So it's a short description of what this skill is supposed to do, the criteria for evaluating a vendor pitch, the decision rule, the formats, some guidelines around how to respond. So this is essentially the document that you have to prepare in order to create this skill. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to build this skill. I'm going to go back to Claude, and I've pre-prepared this. By the way, I will share all my prompts and skills in the links below. So I'm literally just going to paste this here, and let's review what I'm pasting. So here I want to create a custom skill that I can use to action vendor pitches. Please provide me with a zip file so that I can upload it into Claude Cowork. That's a very important statement. Basically, if we want to upload it into our Claude Cowork session, which is where we are going to be demoing the skill, we need that zip file. And then everything below is what we just reviewed, which has all the information on the instructions embedded in this skill. So I'm going to click send. Let's see what she comes back with on the other side. Okay, great. So we have the skill. What I'm going to do simply is I'm going to save this down so I can upload it into Claude Cowork. So now what I want to do is I want to upload this into Cowork. There is actually an easier way where you can directly save the skill and it should upload into your account. But we're going to go the more manual way just in case that doesn't work. So if I click on this customize, what I'll see here is the customize menu for Claude Cowork. And I'm going to click on this create new skills here. And what I want to do is I'll probably want to hit this plus button and then hover over create a skill, and then we'll click upload a skill. And then we drag in that zip file there. Now I'm not going to do it because I've actually already done it before. You'll see this vendor pitch skill here, which has all the information that we just went over. Cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're now going to actually demo this skill. We're going to demo it with a bad pitch email and a good pitch email. Let's start with the bad pitch email. So we really should say no to this. A big reason is because firstly, it isn't even mentioning my name. The ask is very generic. There isn't an actual call to action around specific value that they're creating for me. This looks like very much a spray and pray cold outreach campaign. So we're going to we will expect to have a verdict that we are going to pass on this with a very polite no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my Cowork session. and we're going to click New Task. And what I'll do is I'm going to copy this and paste this here. And in here, it basically says evaluate this pitch, and then it has the information on the email itself. So let's see what happens here. Perfect. So it says it used a skill. We can actually open this and see what skill it ran. And it looks like it is running the vendor pitch triage skill that we have just created. Fantastic. And of course, as expected, this is a pass, relevance unclear, legitimacy low, value prop very vague. So it's giving me the reasons why we should pass. And what's great is we have a nice polite response message that will hopefully get us off their cold outreach campaign list. Great. So now let's do the opposite example, an example of a good pitch email. So you'll see here that it's addressing me in particular. It's actually naming specific things from my background, which is really cool. The Forbes article that I was just in, it's mentioning my actual company, and it's actually mentioning things that we could potentially discuss that create value. So if I were to see this, this would definitely not be a pass. Instead, we'd want to pursue this. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back into my Cowork session, and I'm going to paste this in to here. So let's paste this in. And again, we have the evaluate this pitch and then the details for this pitch. Great. So you'll see here again, it used that triage skill that we just created, and it's saying to pursue. It's giving us the reasons: strong relevance, highly legitimate, actually mentioning things in my background, and the asks are concrete, and we have a fantastic response. Maybe we don't send this response in particular. I try not to use M dashes because it just gives people the wrong impression that it's fully AI generated. Maybe I'll probably shape this a little bit, but this is a good starting point for us to move forward. All right, so we got that all working, fantastic. But I just want to take a moment to pause for a second, because what you just saw in this video is the atomic unit. It's a single skill doing one job and one job well. And honestly, that's probably where most people should start. Build one skill, use it for a month, get a feel for it, and refine it. But here is what's possible once you have a skill like this working. You can connect to Cowork's other capabilities. You can have Cowork read your Gmail and run the skill on every incoming pitch automatically. You could log all verdicts to a spreadsheet so you can see what you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to over time. You can have it ping you in Slack when something worth pursuing comes through. Now, granted, all of these things are a different video and honestly a different conversation, but I just want you to see the trajectory, because once you get the skills right, everything else just becomes plumbing. The skill is the hard part. The skill is where your judgment lives. Everything downstream is just deciding where you want the output to go. All right, so let's zoom out a bit. Here is my broader take on where all of this is going. We have entered the era where execution is no longer the bottleneck. It's actually specification that's the bottleneck. So the people who win are the ones who can clearly articulate what good looks like. And if you've ever managed people, you already know how to do this. You've been writing mental skills your whole career. You just called them something different: SOPs, playbooks, onboarding docs. Every senior person watching this video has dozens of skills worth of value trapped in their head. The way you respond to board updates, the way you give feedback to a direct report, the way you triage your inbox, all of it, every single one of those things is a system waiting to be extracted. And the leaders who figure this out in the next 12 months are going to look from the outside like they have doubled their capacity overnight. And they didn't. They just stopped being dependencies in their own operations. That is the real unlock. All right, let's recap what we just did. So We built a skill inside of Claude with 4 criteria, a simple decision rule, and a clear output format. And now that skill can look at any vendor pitch, decide whether it's worth pursuing, and explain its reasoning, and finally draft the right kind of response in a matter of seconds. But more importantly, we talked about the thing underneath, systems thinking, the idea that the work trapped in your head is a liability until you externalize it. So here is your homework. I don't actually want you to build a vendor pitch skill. I want you to do something a little bit more challenging. Over the next week, I want you to notice the tasks you do repeatedly. That could be the emails you write the same way, the decisions you make on autopilot. Write 3 of them down. And that list, that is your skills roadmap. And honestly, that list might be the most valuable document you write this quarter. If you build a skill from that list, by the way, please drop it in the comments or tag me. I genuinely want to see what you come up with. Now, if you stuck around to the end of this video, I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one.